greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the companion video here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. What is a companion video? Well, I'm glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show in the mornings and on open mic in the afternoons, we take live questions, but we don't always have time to get around to all the live questions that come in. So I want to make sure those questions get addressed. So we take all those questions we didn't have time for and we address them here on companion videos. So without wasting any time, let's dive right into it. And the first question we're getting caught up on here today comes to us from Matt Guillemette, who writes, thoughts on the sitcom Home Improvement. I love to rewatch it. Home Improvement was a good little show. I mean, it wasn't like one of those shows that I had to watch every week and that I stayed up on and all that kind of stuff. But I watched a whole bunch of the episodes. Tim Allen, I mean, it's kind of why Tim Allen is the household name today. It's because of that show. He was a great comedian. And of course, you always had, I can't remember the name of the neighbor, but the neighbor who you only ever saw like from his eyes up. You never saw the rest of his face. And they always did creative little things to hide his face from you, which I always thought was kind of fun. Yeah, it's not a show that comes up in my discussions about, top 10 sitcoms of all time. But it was a fun, entertaining little show. I enjoyed it. It reminds me of this one joke I heard Tim Allen say. He goes, he's on stage, right? And this is, it's terrible, but it's part of the terribleness of it is why it's funny. He goes, man, I'm a man and men can be pigs, right, ladies? Men can be pigs, right? And then you hear all the ladies in the audience cheer, yeah! And he goes, yeah, too bad we own everything, which was just such the wrong thing to say, but so funny at the same time. And anyway, but that comedic styling of his was very present in Home Improvement, and I think that's what made it. I think it lasts like 8 seasons, which is very atypical for a sitcom to do. So yeah, good on them. Marvel Diesel writes, Geo, every time somebody everyone talks about believing the deaths pre-dusting are permanent. I believe that however they bring everyone back will occur before Thanos even gets the initial Power Stone. Thoughts? I'm not quite sure what it is you're saying. I mean, if they go back to before Thanos gets the Power Stone, everybody's still there. Like if there's time travel involved, then if they go back to before Thanos gets the Power Stone, they're not going to bring everybody back there. Everybody's already there. So I'm not sure I'm catching the nuance of what it is you're suggesting. So think about it. Fire me off an email or something. Let me know more specifically what it is you're talking about. Let's see here. No Handerlin writes, do you think Avengers 4 will be too early for a main Avengers character to turn out to be a Skrull? Thanks and keep up bringing up the filthy. I don't think any main Avengers character is going to be a Skrull. I actually talked about that on the show earlier this week. So for those of you who don't know, Skrulls are an alien being known in the comics for passing themselves off as human beings, right? And Skrulls are going to be key characters in the upcoming Captain Marvel film. So Skrulls are being introduced into the MCU. That movie takes place in the 90s, so it's possible, as some people are speculating, that Skrulls are around today, in today's MCU film, just disguising themselves as a human being. Do I think it's too early for them to make a main Avengers character a Skrull? No, because it'll have been almost 30 years in the timeline. So I don't think it's too early. But I don't think they have any plans to make any of the main Avenger characters Skrulls. Captain America was not a Skrull. Tony's not a Skrull. Scarlet Witch isn't a Skrull. Vision clearly isn't a Skrull. I don't think Rhodey is a Skrull. I don't think so. No, I don't think. Now, what I suggested, and I don't know this, I'm just speculating as a fan, just like you are. What I am speculating is that there will be a recognizable figure from the Avengers universe that may end up being a Skrull. Which character that is, I'm not sure. But we will have to wait and see how that all turns out. But I don't think it's going to be one of the named Avengers. That's just what I think at any rate. But if they did it, is it too soon to do that? No, I don't think it's too soon to do it. Alex Gaming writes, Evans and Holland to star in The Devil All the Time. Yeah, so Chris Evans and Tom Holland, 2 MCU veterans now, are going to be starring together in this little film called The Devil All the Time, based on a novel. What is even more intriguing to me than the Chris Evans and Tom Holland is that from Twilight fame, Robert Pattinson is in it. And I know this will rub a lot of you guys the wrong way, especially those of you who've not seen any of Robert Pattinson's films since his Twilight days. I'm going to tell you right now, Chris Evans, Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, all great actors. Robert Pattinson's the best of that bunch. I'll tell you that right now. Robert Pattinson is the best pure actor out of that bunch. And I love Chris Evans. You know I love Chris Evans. And I'm really impressed with Tom Holland right now. I think they're really, really good. But Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, other than Chiwetel Ejiofor, may be the single most underrated actor in the business today. I mean, there's a few names you need to bring up when you're talking about the most underrated actors today. One would be Chiwetel Ejiofor. Even though he has an Academy Award nomination, a lot of people still don't even know who he is. You got to talk about Ben Foster from 3:10 to Yuma and stuff like that. Ben Foster is a power. He's a Thanos level actor. And you got to talk about Robert Pattinson. Look, I'm not a fan of the Twilight series either, guys, but you watch these smaller films he's done since, you can't deny. I mean, it's all subjective, it is. But, I mean, from one point of view, it's like, you can't deny how good this guy is. And that's the part that's even more intriguing to me. Seeing Robert Pattinson, Chris Evans, Tom Holland, all bringing their talents to bear on this really celebrated novel. It's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. All right. Grandmaster writes, I think the reason Mission Impossible 6 made the most of the franchise is because of 3D. Nah, I don't think so. It's the first Mission Impossible movie in 3D. Still, Tom Cruise is my favorite action star. First of all, the 3D money didn't account for very much of the money. And then, let me back up. The majority of the people who saw Mission Impossible 6 saw it in standard 2D. The vast majority. Out of the percentage that did see it in 3D, you can only count the dollars that would have been higher than a standard 2D screening. So that's only a couple bucks per screening, right? With the minority of the people who saw the film anyway. I really don't. I attribute MI6 to doing the best on the fact that it's coming off the backs of two strong Mission Impossible films, Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation, that people generally really enjoyed. So it's got a lot of momentum. The marketing for this movie was great. Then the reviews started coming out, and they were great. I mean, those are the reasons, in my opinion at any rate, why Mission Impossible 6 did better at the box office. It wasn't the 3D. A lot of people overestimate how much of a difference the 3D ticket price does. It's actually, it's something. It is something, but it's not a major contributing factor that some people seem to think it is. The reasons I believe that Mission Impossible 6 did better, the best in the franchise, strong previous two films, so it had massive momentum, a great marketing campaign, including a lot of stunt marketing, no pun intended, a lot of stunt marketing highlighting the stunts that Tom Cruise did himself for the movie, and then super strong critical reaction and fan reaction and word of mouth. To me, those are your three main components as to why Mission Impossible 6 did the best. But that's just my opinion. Brian Jones writes, thoughts on Vision not being prominent in the airport battle? Shows up and then fights really no one. And do you think he'll return for Avengers 4? I think they're all coming back for Avengers 4. So yes, I believe he's coming back for Avengers 4. As far as him not featuring prominently in the fight, whatever. There were several characters who didn't feature prominently in the fight. You had a ton of characters. You only have so much screen time. You only got to focus. You can only really focus much on a couple. So, and to say he didn't feature prominently, he was part of the finale of the battle. I mean, he's the one who shoots Rhodey out of the sky. So he had a major role to play in that battle. Plus, he had another big confrontation with Scarlet Witch on the field. Did he have as much screen time as some of the others? No. But there's only so much screen time to go around, so I honestly have never given it 1 second thought. But I do believe he will be back in Avengers 4. Ivan Prito writes, over or under 30% that Aquaman makes more than Justice League at the box office. That's an interesting number because the reality is, look, Aquaman's not going to be a $1 billion film, and it doesn't need to be a $1 billion film. It also doesn't need to make $650 million to be successful. Aquaman makes $400 million, they're going to be happy. Aquaman makes $400 million at the box office. They are going to be, and they should be happy. That's great. $650 million, which is around the number that Justice League made, is not completely irrational. That's not completely fairy tale land to think that it could get to 650. $1 billion is fairy tale land. It's not going to do that. But 650 is not completely irrational. I don't think it's going to get to 650. I really don't. But it's not completely unreasonable to believe that maybe it could. 30% is a good number. I'll still take the under on 30. I'll take the under on 30, but not by much. Not by much. I might set my line at like 22, 23%, somewhere around there. So it's possible. I wouldn't put my money on it, though. I think it's unlikely. I think it's going to be a successful film. I think it's going to make somewhere between 400 and 520, and I think that's a good day at the office for DC. I think it would be a really nice result for a film like this, especially considering the Justice League itself only managed to make 650. So that's where I think it's going to come in. All right, Roy L. writes, I've been playing the Spider-Man on PS4, which is awesome, and I forgot about Iron Fist Season 2. Funny thing is, I don't care enough to watch it. Well, that's because Iron Fist Season 1 was so bad. I mean, it's almost ridiculous about how bad. We've talked enough about how bad Iron Fist Season 1 is anyway. But I'm with you. Look, I didn't like Jessica Jones Season 1. So I was not looking forward to Jessica Jones Season 2, but I knew when it was coming out. I swear to God, totally missed Iron Fist Season 2 coming out. I totally missed it. My buddy Ryan was over here. He's like, oh, want to check out Iron Fist Season 2? So it's not on yet. And he goes, yeah, it opened today. Well, I had no idea it opened today. So obviously I didn't care much either. But I'll like I've been saying about Iron Fist Season 2, I don't think it's been great. I'm 2 episodes away from the end now. I'm about to start watching the second to last episode. I'm not thrilled with this season. But, as I've been saying this week, it is definitely an improvement. There's no denying it's an improvement. They've improved several key areas, and to me, my favorite parts of it are, number one, by far the most interesting thing in this show is this really cool dynamic and story they've got going on between Ward and Joy, the brother-sister. I'm really eating up every second that storyline's on screen. And this new, I think it's Mary Walker character, I'm really into her. The martial arts choreography has been improved greatly. A lot of the dialogue has not improved, and the performances have gotten better. Hey, look, I'm not loving this season of Iron Fist Season 2, but it is an improvement, and that's really all you can ask. Just keep making steps in the right direction, and we'll all be happy. Zach Lozelle writes, if you had to choose who in the MCU do you think will be revealed as a Skrull sometime in the near future, as a betting man and as a non-betting man? Well, I really don't know, but I will say this. I don't think it's going to be any of the key central named Avengers characters. I don't think it's going to be any of the key central named Avengers characters. I don't think it's going to be Bucky. I don't think it's going to be Widow. I don't think it's going to be Hawkeye. I don't think it's going to be Iron Man. It's going to be somebody, I'm betting on that it's going to be somebody who we recognize in the MCU, but is not like a named Avengers character. Know what I'm saying? So that's where my non-betting money would go. The Popcornator writes, I'm okay with announcing Marvel films before Avengers 4 if they're not spoilers, i.e. Doctor Strange 2 or Black Widow, which would prove they survive/come back. Well, okay, first of all, Black Widow didn't dust, right? Black Widow didn't dust, so that doesn't matter. But why not? We already know Spider-Man Homecoming's coming. Or Spider-Man Far From Home, I should say. We already know they're undoing the dusting in one form or another. Maybe it's more accurate to say they're going to undo the results of the dusting one way or the other. We already know that. We've already got Spider-Man Far From Homecoming, so we already know a bunch, if not all of these characters are coming back. So what's the harm then? I would agree with you, Popcornator. By the way, I love that name. I would agree with you if they hadn't already announced and we didn't already know that Spider-Man Far From Home was coming, and if we didn't already know they were already in motion for making Guardians of the Galaxy 3. If we didn't already know this stuff, then I would probably be more inclined to agree with you. But since we already know Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is coming, since we already know they're doing another Black Panther, and since Spider-Man Far From Home is on the release schedule just a couple of months after Avengers 4, we already know these characters are coming back. So it really doesn't do anything to announce a Scarlet Witch movie, or to announce a Vision movie if you wanted to do that, or to announce a name your character who does it movie. It doesn't matter, right? They've already cracked the seal by having Spider-Man Far From Home coming out just a few months after Avengers 4, and we already know it. So because of that, I really don't care if they announce whatever movies, because they've already cracked the seal. Tristan Larson writes, how are you liking Better Call Saul right now? I've slowed down. I'm about to start season 3. Didn't love the last couple of episodes of season 2. I was really into it up till about that point, and the last time I watched an episode was probably about 2 weeks ago, I'm thinking. So it's been a while since I watched a Better Call Saul episode. I don't know, my enthusiasm for it got killed. But a lot of people tell me season 3 is like the best season they had, so I'll get back on that pretty soon. Jamaican writes, I watched all of Jack Ryan and I liked it. Decent. You know, I'm really encouraged by how many people like you, Jamaican, that I've been having writing into me, because I'm a big John Krasinski fan. Long before A Quiet Place, I've wanted this guy to be a big star for a long time. I've always thought he had the potential to be a big star for a long time. And I'm really curious to see this. And I've been having a lot of people writing in saying they really like Jack Ryan. So I'm very curious to check it out. So thanks for adding your voice to that, Jamaican. KW writes, a simple favor is around a 90% more excited. Well, I'll tell you what. It's now, all the reviews have now come in, and it's settled in at 82%, which is great. 82% is a great rating. That's a really strong rating. Not the best in the world, but it's a very, very strong rating. Which is great, because I love Blake Lively. And I love Anna Kendrick. And I'm very curious to see. I've loved the trailers for this. It looks intriguing and suspenseful, and I want to know what the hell's going on in it. So I'm really stoked to see it. I'm going to watch it this week sometime. As you guys know, I've been really busy. More announcements about that to come. So I haven't had a chance to see it, but I'm dying to see it because I love these actresses and I like the director. So here's hope. But it came in around 82%, which is really strong. Caleb Bradford writes, yesterday someone asked about Avengers 4, but you didn't get it. Yeah, a lot of times people, by the way, this happens all the time. People write in something and they're in such a rush to write in that they don't realize that when I read it and I don't know what's in their head and I'm reading, it's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, dude. Like, I can't make any sense out of what they're writing, because I guess it's because people are like really just trying to get their question as quick as possible, and they write as fast as they can and they don't stop to think it out. But anyway, yesterday somebody asked about Avengers 4, but you didn't get it. What he was asking was, what two Avengers would you choose to protect you from Thanos? Oh, well, that's kind of easy. It's the two characters who, in my opinion, did the best job one-on-one against Thanos. One is obviously Thor, who came within just a couple of inches of killing Thanos with a fully intact Infinity Gauntlet, and he came this close to killing him. So obviously Thor. And then it would be between, look, I said this before and I stand by it. I think the other Avenger who did the best one-on-one against Thanos was not Iron Man. I thought it was Doctor Strange. I thought Doctor Strange did the best job. And ultimately only gave up his stone to save Tony. And to save the rest of the world too, which we figured out later on. But that's the only reason Thanos was able to get the stone from Doctor Strange, because he gave it up willingly. So yeah, I think the two guys I would take to be my shields against, no pun intended, to be my shields against Thanos would be Thor and Doctor Strange. Let's see. Edgar Magana writes, will Halloween beat Gravity's October opening weekend of $55.7 million? I think yes. So for those of you who don't know what Edgar's talking about, the all-time opening weekend box office record for the month of October is the Sandra Bullock film Gravity that opened with $55.7 million. That's the all-time record. So Edgar's asking, will Halloween beat that record? It's possible But here's the catch. According to all the reports and tracking, Gravity isn't going to be the record anymore by the time Halloween opens. Right now, they're projecting that Venom is going to open somewhere between $60 and $70 million. That is going to be the new opening weekend box office record. Now, it may not open to that much, but that's what everybody's saying at this point. That's what Sony's predicting. That's what the industry is predicting. That's what the tracking businesses are saying. That's going to open somewhere between 60 and 70. That clearly breaks Gravity's record. So the real question is, can Halloween beat that record? The 60 to 70, I doubt it. I don't think so. You know, we did I brought up a graphic the other day looking at all of the previous 3 Halloween films that have come out. The highest opening weekend out of any of them was 24 million. The other 2 were both in the tens, like 11 million, 13 million, something like that. And one was 26 million. So could I see this Halloween movie improving on that? Absolutely. Do I see it cracking like 63, 64 million opening weekend? I honestly don't think so. I don't think so. And it doesn't need to be a huge success because they're making this movie for a very small budget. This movie's going to open I believe in the 50 neighborhood, and that's going to be a massive success. Do I see it getting to that 60, 65, 70? I don't think so. I think 40 to 50 is where it's going to come. Could be totally wrong about that. We'll have to wait and see more tracking numbers on it. But I think 40 to 50 is where it's going to come in, and that is a huge success. Huge success for that film if it does happen. But it would have a small shot at beating the Gravity record, but it's not going to beat the actual record, which is probably going to end up going to be being the Venom number. So that's just what I think. Could be totally wrong, though. We'll have to wait and see. Zach Milne writes, watched Rambo 4. I wasn't prepared. It's a hard watch, to be honest. A lot of violence, a lot of brutality, a lot of death. It's a brutal film. I quite enjoyed it on a visceral level, but you're right. I mean, depending on your sensibilities, Rambo 4 is a tough film to watch. What weapons did you bring? We didn't bring weapons. Then you ain't changing nothing. It's a great line. Warrington Train Spotter 2778 writes, Henry Cavill is the best Superman. I hope Warner Brothers keeps him as Superman in future movies. It really all depends on what their plan is. I mean, look, The Hollywood Reporter, and I believe their story. The Hollywood Reporter sourced multiple people and contacts inside Warner Brothers to come out and run their story that Henry Cavill was out as Superman. I believe them. Warner Brothers put out a complete non-response by saying, while no decisions have been made about future Superman movies, we greatly respect and continue to greatly respect Henry Cavill. So basically you're dodging the question. And then Henry Cavill puts out a video of just him with music holding a Superman doll, not actually saying anything. Which I believe was a coordinated effort between Warner Brothers and Henry Cavill. And Henry Cavill's just being a professional. He's just doing his job. I don't blame Henry Cavill for that whatsoever. He's doing the right thing. But make no mistake, the Hollywood Reporter story is correct. Maybe that'll change, but I believe and I really do. You guys know me. I also believe that Henry Cavill is the best Superman we've ever had. I love Henry Cavill as Superman. Man of Steel is the most underrated comic book film of all time. But it looks like he's gone. Praise Kiyogera, who writes, I'm going to see Venom tomorrow. I actually can't wait to see it. As an upstart, when do you usually put out a non-spoiler review and eventually the spoiler? Well, I mean, the non-spoiler review is obvious. You just wait for the review embargo to lift. And double check. Don't assume you know anything. Grab a representative who is there at the screening and specifically ask them, when is the review embargo? And do not put up your review before that embargo date. And as far as spoiler reviews, you guys know my philosophy. At least wait till a day or two after the movie comes out and hits theaters. Ideally 2 days to give people a chance to see it before you start unleashing all the spoilers online. You know what I'm saying? Couch Talk writes, I hear Kit Harington is up for Batman. Thoughts? Don't care. You guys know me. John, what do you think of X actor in X role? Don't care. As long as it's a decent actor, then I'm fine. Kit Harington is a decent actor, so fine. There are 20 or 30 other guys I'd put in front of him, but if they announced Kit Harington was Batman, I'd be fine with it because he's a talented actor. That's all I care about. Patrick Conway writes, best Will Fichtner role, mine is Mahoon in Peanut Butter? Mahoon and PB. No idea what you're talking about, Patrick. My favorite William Fichtner role is, and he is a truly one of the great character actors of our generation. I love Will Fichtner. My actual favorite of his, though, is a smaller role, not a tiny role, but a smaller role, because I just thought he was so good in it. And that was his role in the 2000 film Perfect Storm. I love him in Perfect Storm. Perfect Storm's a good movie. It's a good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. I don't think it's an all-time great movie, but I thought William Fichtner was crazy good in that movie in a supporting role. I thought he was great. And I always think Will Fichtner brings it. He always brings it. He never mails in some half-assed effort in a role. He always brings his effort. Which is one of the reasons I really like the guy and I love seeing him and stuff. Now you might say, oh, but there's other movies he has bigger roles and there's television shows he has bigger roles in. Oh, PB, you're thinking Prison Break. Right, okay, anyway. Guys, please do me a favor. I ask this all the time. Do not put in acronyms. Don't put in just the initials of things and expect that I'm going to know what you're talking about. Please actually write out the name of the show or the movie you're talking about. Anyway, but yes, Mahoon from Prison Break. Anyway, it's still, I think the best performance he ever gave was that supporting role in that little movie, Perfect Storm. I just love him in it. Praise Kyogera writes, also, would it be appropriate for me and my co-host to do like an initial first thought review without having to mention any story beats or rating? I mean, do whatever floats your boat, but if you're talking about putting out a pre-review and a spoiler review, I don't see any point of that, to be honest. I mean, do whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you feel good, but I wouldn't see any point in doing that. That seems kind of redundant. Brent1 says, since today is 9/11, obviously this came in about 3 or 4 days ago, I would recommend World Trade Center 2006. Although it is mostly filmed in one location, I believe it is a good Nicolas Cage movie. I like it. I like World Trade Center. And it was directed by... I'm looking at his face. Oh, no, I can't believe I got to look it up. I'm looking at his face in my head. And Michael Peña's in that, by the way, with Nicolas Cage. And he's really good in it. Oliver Stone, of course, Oliver Stone. That was, World Trade Center was the first movie that a studio ever invited me to cover a press junket for. This is back when I was still doing the movie blog. And I had been given the ability to interview a couple people on a phone or meet 1 or 2 people. But the first official press junket day that I ever got invited to go and cover, they did a junket for it in Toronto. And so they reached out to me and said, hey, movie blog guy, do you want to come and interview Oliver Stone? And I'm like, are you, what? Me? Just some blogger who just, craps around on the internet? You want me to, I get to come and interview Academy Award Oliver Stone? Okay. So I went down and I interviewed Oliver Stone. And you know what? The more I think about it, that was a very pivotal moment for me. Because if he was a jerk or an idiot or something like that, it might have turned me off the idea of, interviewing celebrities or being really into this. But he was a great guy in that interview. He was really funny and very open. And I enjoyed my time with him, to be honest with you. So, yeah, that was a really cool thing. And I like World Trade Center. I do. I think it was a moving movie. I liked it. I thought Nicolas Cage was quite good in it. Michael Peña is very good in it. So, yeah, I enjoyed that film. All right. The Mad Titan writes. Where did Mad Titan go? There he is. Iron Fist Season 2 was pretty good, in my opinion. I really didn't like Season 1. The Mary Walker character is a highlight. Have you attempted to watch it yet? Well, once again, I am just 2 episodes away from finishing. I'm about to start the second to last episode. And again, I'm not loving it, but it's not bad. It's not bad. it's certainly a step in the right direction and certainly an improvement. And now I'm rounding out into the finish line to see the last 2 episodes, and we'll see how that goes. Sebastian writes, subjective statement, Khan is the number 1 villain in my honest opinion. Oh, hey, that's not a bad opinion to have either. Like, to me, it's obviously Darth Vader. But Khan from Wrath of Khan, played by the great Ricardo Montalban, that there's no wrong answer there. Like, Khan is one of the truly great on-screen villains of all time. You know, I clearly have Vader as number 1, but he belongs in the discussion with guys like Vader, with guys like Hans Gruber, and with other great villains that we've had on screen. Khan belongs right up there. He's just fantastic. And partly, maybe the main reason why I believe Wrath of Khan is the greatest Star Trek film of all time. All right, and the final question today comes to us from Mike Holtrackers, who writes, how about requels? You know, it's funny you use that word. There is no official definition for requels. But I remember the very first time I ever heard the term requel. It was Mark Neville-Dean and Brian Taylor. They were the directors of those Jason Statham movies, Crank and Crank 2. They also directed that, why am I forgetting, Gerard Butler's action movie Gamer. But anyway, they had just gotten word. They were at my house. And these are the guys these two with Milo Ventimiglia are the guys who are responsible for me meeting my wife, Anne. So these guys will always have a very special place in my heart. Didn't stop me from giving Gamer a bad review, but the 2 guys will always have a very special place in my heart. I love these guys. Anyway, they were at my house, and they had just gotten the final confirmation call that Nicolas Cage had agreed to be in Ghost Rider again. And they were going to do another Ghost Rider movie. And I remember, so they're doing a sequel to Ghost Rider, and they're like, well, it's not really a sequel. But if you're rebooting, shouldn't you get a different actor? But the thing is, these guys love Nicolas Cage. So they're like, no, we want to do it with Nicolas Cage. But it's not a sequel. And then they said, think of it like a requel. Like, not a remake, not a sequel, a requel. And I remember that's the first time I'd ever heard that word mentioned, requel. Now, some people have started using that word again to kind of, I don't think it's become official, but to kind of denote this new phenomenon we've been seeing in films of a movie franchise doing another movie that replaces a bunch of the other movies in the franchise. For example, we've got Halloween, the new Halloween coming out, that replaces Halloween 2, 3, and all the Halloween movies after it. So it still takes the first movie is in the series, but then the new one comes in and replaces all the films that came after it. Terminator apparently is like that. Except instead of just the first one, it's saying the first Terminator is solid, the second Terminator is solid, but now we're doing this new Terminator movie, and it replaces number 3 and all the ones that come after it. And some people lately have been using the phrase requel for that. Some people think this is a new thing, but really when you go back, the Highlander series kind of did it first, because the Highlander came out, and it is still to this day in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. The original Highlander with Christopher Lambert, Sean Connery, Clancy Brown. It's one of the 10 best films ever made, in my opinion. That's the one all the films in my top 10, people go, okay, yeah. It's always when I get to the Highlander that people go, really? Highlander? But yeah, what can I say? I love that movie. Highlander 2, one of the 3 worst films of all time. So then Highlander 3 comes out, and it was kind of like the first requel, because Highlander 3 completely ignored everything about Highlander 2. It essentially pretended like it was Highlander 2, when really it was Highlander 3. But for every story beat, for all narrative purposes, it completely ignored Highlander 2 and kind of acted like it was the sequel to the first Highlander. But now we're seeing that popping up again with Terminator, Halloween. I think they might have said Chucky. I can't remember. But if this becomes the new meaning of Recal, so be it. What do I think of them? Well, we haven't really had a chance to see how they turn out yet. We're going to see Halloween pretty soon, and then we're going to see Terminator soon enough. And then we'll see if these can be good ideas that can continue on in the future. Look, there are a lot of franchises out there that had great first films, maybe even first 1 or 2 films, and then just went to complete crap after that could use a Recal. And some shouldn't be touched, but we'll have to see how that goes on in the future. All right, guys. That will do it for this installment of the companion videos. Listen, if you had an outstanding question still waiting, don't worry. There are still a bunch of questions I have to get to. That's just all the time we have for right now. That'll do it for me, guys. Don't forget the John Campea Show back up again on Monday morning at 9 a.m., covering all the movie news and talking about all of our favorite stuff. And, of course, Open Mic is back in the afternoon as well. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.